I'm not teaching, I'm publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 39, Religious Conflicts, I think part 3. And by doing a bit wrist training, and if you participate in the wrist training, that is at your own risk. So we just had the 6 wives of Henry VIII. That's all what this is about, the religious conflicts. Because there will be something important about the church. I think that was already announced. So the 6 wives are Catherine of Aragon, and then Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn, what does directly the same one? Okay. Catherine of Aragon, then Anne Boleyn, then Jane Seymour in the middle, then Anne of Cleves, and then Catherine Howard, and then Catherine Parr. So these are the 6 wives. We will work a bit on remembering them in the next coming time. So to divorce his first wife, Henry needed the approval of the Pope. So he wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon, a Spanish princess who had one child together with Henry VIII, her name Mary, but he wasn't satisfied with her being a girl. He wanted a boy, but Catherine of Aragon was too old. Was written here? That was given here as a reason. She was too old to get a child, and so he divorced her. But to divorce her, he needed the approval of the Pope. The Pope is in Rome, in the Vatican, which is technically not Rome, but in the city of Vatican City, there's the Pope. The Pope is the head of the Catholic Church. But I think we will come to that maybe. No, I don't. Yes, we will. Of the Roman Catholic Church. To divorce his wife, Henry needed the approval of the Pope, the head of the Roman Catholic Church. When the Pope refused, so the Pope, if you would be written the name of who the Pope was, so which title the Pope had in that year, it must be, never mentioned, something like 1520? That would be one fact more to learn, but it would make it easier to learn it. There are pros and cons. So he needed the approval of the Pope, of the head of the Roman Catholic Church. But the Pope didn't want that, or didn't accept the asking for approval of King Henry VIII to divorce of Catherine of Aragon, which he wanted to divorce because he had only one female girl with her, one female child with her, and he wanted a boy. When the Pope refused, Henry established the Church of England. So there is a new church, the Church of England, and King Henry VIII established it. In this new church, the king, not the Pope, would have the power to appoint bishops and order how people should worship. We know a bit about worships. Worships are in the House of Lords, and that's basically it. So, now in that Church of England, which is not part of the Roman Catholic Church, the king would have the highest position, not the Church as a representative of God in the Roman Catholic Church, but the king had the highest position in that church. And now the king could appoint bishops and could also say how people should worship. So, how we pray or in the right way, or also saying important stuff about the Bible, because it's a very long book and sometimes complicated. Let's start with the wrist. We're having just a good comfortable stance by all these exercises, and we're having the hands and fists next to us, and we're bringing these fists down and again up and down and again up, and we're having 3 rules. The first rule is that if we feel pain, we are stopping immediately. The second rule is that we're going only as far as we can go, and then turning around and going in the other direction. And the third rule is that we don't overdo it, that we're doing only as much exercises as we can do without using more than our potential. So that was the last time when we had gone up, and you could also think about the fourth one. Anyone has to say where I have understand the first 3 rules. To the outside and to the inside, that is the flashlight. So the first rule, if there's pain, stop immediately. Second rule, go only as far as you can go with a little bit of effort. And the third rule, don't overdo it. And the fourth one would make sure that you have actually understand me. No matter how fast I have spoken, I would have to repeat it, even if I had spoken too fast. So, he wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon, but the Pope in Rome didn't approve it, so he established the Church of England, in which he would have to say who would become bishop, who would become the bishop, and how the people should worship. At the same time, the Reformation was happening across Europe. Yes, more explanation here. This was, so first we want to get clear, these were maybe new words. The Reformation and the cross of Europe is maybe not, but the Reformation, if I just read on the next sentence, we haven't understood what the first word was, so we know first make sure that we know what we are talking about. Even though we don't know what the word Reformation means, we must now pay attention to it, and now we get an explanation, a bit at least, to what the Reformation is. If you just read on, we're just going to read the second sentence, but we haven't even understood the first one. So we will not understand an explanation if we don't know what the explanation is. So even though we need the explanation to understand what is explained, we need to know that that is the explanation for something we're waiting for. So, the Reformation. In Europe, there was something happening which is called the Reformation. And now we get told what the Reformation was. This was a movement. So the Reformation was a movement against the authority of the Pope and the ideas and practices of the Roman Catholic Church. So the Pope in the Vatican was the head of the Roman Catholic Church. And they were, for example, appointing bishops and told how people should worship. And now we were not only King Henry VIII wasn't that much in consonance with what the Pope said about that he could divorce Catherine of Aragon, who had one child with Mary, but he wanted a boy. But also other people, a movement, so hundreds, thousands, 10,000, maybe a million people or something. What was the name they used? Just a movement against the authority, where you don't say anything how it happened. And exactly so, word demonstrations, word maybe wars, or they don't say anything about it. Just a movement against the authority of the Pope. So not only the King Henry VIII didn't want that the Pope said him how he could divorce someone, or how the bishop become, or how people should worship in England, but also other people across Europe, and other countries of Europe, in France, in Germany, and so on, did not want it that the Pope said all these things, and there was a movement against it. And the ideas and practices of the Roman Catholic Church, so the ideas of the Roman Catholic Church, of the Pope, with a head on it, of it, how should we worship, and also the practices. And what the Roman Catholic Church was practicing as the Roman Catholic Church. The Protestants formed their own churches. Now I'm not sure if that word is the Protestants in the sense of the people who were protesting, or the Protestants in the sense of the people who were similar religion. It's a Christian-based religion, but a different church from the Roman Catholic Church. So I'm not sure if it means just that they protested, or if that is now the name for the new coming church, a new direction of Christianity, which was without the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church. I think it's the Protestants. The Protestants. But they formed their own churches. So multiple. And that's true. So not only the Pope, not only a king, Henry VIII established his own church with the Church of England, but also other Protestant churches. So that is not a building meant, but they have multiple buildings. If they're in a town, 100 people having this no direction, then they have a church in another town again. So it's not a building. That is a whole church, like the Church of England. That can be thousands of churches. But they're communities and whole populations. Now we're doing the next exercise. We're having the hands flat next to us, and we're bringing these flat hands to the inside and to the outside. and again to the inside, and to the outside. And that was the magician after this last movement. And let's do the pancake flipper, flat hands again, and we're flipping these flat hands up to the sky, and again down. Again up, and down. And the last time, up and down. And we're going to do the last two exercises. The hands out of the fists and the hands to the inside. And up and to the outside. And down. And to the inside. And down. Now we come backwards. To the outside. And up and to the inside. Now we grab anxious to fever. Hand the fist next to us, we're bringing the fist down. And we're pressing against the index finger. Carefully with careful force. And from the outside. And from the top. And from the bottom. And now on the other hand, with the other hand down, and we're pressing it against it. And from the outside. And from the top. And from the bottom. And now just a bit relaxation. We're having a straight arm, make a little bend in the elbow and set on and go the middle part of the lower arm with moderate force. And last time, and on the other side, straight arm, a little bend, and then over it with moderate force. Now we're having almost 3 minutes left. Let's look at the 6 wives of Henry VIII again, because that is what it's about. He wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon, his first wife, of whom he had married a girl. His second wife was Anne Boleyn, and he wanted to go to the one thing. It was Anne Boleyn with whom he had a daughter, Elizabeth. So he had a daughter with Catherine of Aragon, Mary, with his first wife, and with his second wife, Anne Boleyn, he had another daughter, Elizabeth. Anne Boleyn was killed, executed. Now, then the third one was Jane Seymour. I find that pretty simple to remember because the name is completely different than all the others ones, but maybe not. You know, the other ones are Catherine and Anne, and that is Jane. So Jane Seymour, and also the second name. But yeah, I said I wanted to spend a bit of time on finding ways to remember it. So Jane Seymour, and she had a son with him, Edward. So that is pretty good. We have Mary as the first child, and then we have Elizabeth, and then Edward, and directly with the first, second, and third wife. That's pretty good. And Edward is also no problem with Seymour. So Seymour and Edward is both with an E. It just fits. And Catherine of Aragon first. It fits of Aragon. It's yes, we have Anne of Cleves, but it's a very long title with Catherine of Aragon. So that fits as the first one. It's also an A at the beginning of the alphabetic letter, and then we have Anne Boleyn, which also fits. And Jane Seymour, then the one with the other name, and then in the middle S block, third one. And then we start again with Anne of Cleves. I don't know how we could remember that, but we have already straight that he had only children with the first 3 children, and that were Mary, Elizabeth, and Edward. And we can also pretty easily remember that the mother of Edward, Jane Seymour, died pretty much right soon after her birth, and it's also not that hard to remember that Anne Boleyn had Elizabeth, and that Anne Boleyn was beheaded, and it's also not so hard to remember that it was Catherine of Aragon whom he wanted to divorce. Now Anne of Cleves, how can we remember it's the fourth one? I don't know so directly, but Catherine Parr is not that hard. Catherine Parr is the last one, and she survived him. She lived longer when she was a widow, and she married when Henry was already late in his life, and she even married again, but then died soon after that marriage. Now we need to make Anne of Cleves and Catherine Howard now in the future. I don't have time. I thank you very much, and until next time.